pattern. I'll do a brief intro and we'll be onward.
And I will drop the test pattern as soon as we are live on YouTube, which is coming up.
Live from the Plutopia News Network, this is the Plutopia Happy Hour. Our guest this evening is David Gans. The not ready for primetime players are here: Maggie Duvall, Susie Sheeler, Scoop Sweeney, and our fearless functionary, John Lebkowski.
I wish I could figure out how to be in black and white. Oh, go ahead, David. Sorry.
Oh, I was just repeating that phrase. I like that phrase, our fearless functionary.
That's pretty
It's
good.
both,
That's
it's
pretty
both
good.
grandiose and down to earth at the same time.
And confusing to those who don't know functionaries.
We need a D word to go with dysfunctionary.
Dangerous.
Ah, well, I'm here sipping wine and baying at the moon and wearing my, I'm the Birdman of Alcatraz tonight.
All
My
right.
Alcatraz hat on. David, how are you?
I'm doing great, actually. I had an amazing day. I just got hired to do the narration for an audio book.
Wow.
Which one?
I can't divulge it yet. I'm waiting for permission to say what book it is, but it's a book by a person I know about a subject that I really like. And this is work that I've really been wanting to get into as I age out of schlepping around the country with a guitar in my hands.
That is so cool.
I'm thrilled. And
Congratulations.
I had a really good day of it today. I got off to a good start. The producer is in my ears, and he's working in Atlanta. The engineer is in the next room in a classic recording studio setting. And the two of them were following along in their manuscripts and stopping me and having me restart and redo stuff. And the producer was helping me get into the pace of doing it in a sort of what turned out to be kind of a musical way. And I had a great time. They both seemed very pleased with how quickly I picked up the groove of doing it, and that bodes well for my future as an audible narrator.
Oh, that's
Fantastic.
so
very
cool.
Yeah.
That is really cool. I have been downloading books from Audible like crazy because it gives me something to do when I leave the house, and or if I can't read because I want to draw or something, and I'm able to listen to the books, and the narrator makes all the difference, really. I mean, I hate to say that, but I mean, a good narrator can make you.
I'm happy to say that because David's going to be one of those guys.
It's going to be it's cool because, it really does make a difference. And that's very cool that you get to do that. That somebody said you're good.
Well, it should be fine. They're expecting to finish ahead of schedule. We've got seven of these 5-hour sessions booked. And I'm learning very quickly on the job, but the whole thing it's just a thrill to be doing it, and for the company that does the most of it too. So I've just got onboarded, which was a bizarre experience in certain ways. I had to upload the gross income of my company for the last 5 years and shit like that. It was kind of weird, but I'm on board now, and I'm one of them. So who knows? Maybe I'm in their talent pool for keeps.
Wow.
That is fantastic.
That's very cool.
One thing you could do is kind of explain the sign there to your right, I think, or is it to your left? No, it's to your left, to my right.
That sign?
Yes.
Okay.
So that people will understand what that is all about.
Okay. I am a musician, and I play a live concert in the spot where I'm sitting right now every day. And I just finished doing it. I knocked off a few minutes early so I could get here on time. I play every day of Tuesday through Sunday at 4 o'clock till 5-ish. I play until sometime after 5 every day. And then on Mondays, I play on a different platform, a Deadhead platform, a Deadhead Land channel on Facebook on Mondays at 3. But I play a live show every day, and I had to do that when my touring life dried up, because I just had to stay musical, and I had to stay, I had to try and figure out a way to stay in touch with my audience. And so I wound up creating a new audience and finding a new audience. in a really, really wonderful way and playing music in a very, very different format from what I was used to.
And that's 4 p.m. Pacific time, right?
Yeah, 4 p.m.
And that's on YouTube?
No,
or is
it's
it
right here. I'm sorry, it's on Facebook. I
Facebook,
have
yeah.
no idea where I am. I'm on Zoom on YouTube, but
We used to
play-
Zoom to Facebook, but we started having technical issues from time to time, so we started Zooming directly to YouTube.
I know a number of I have a number of musician friends, and they've had a similar experience to you, David, and it's been kind of interesting. I know I'm somebody who, even before COVID, wouldn't go see music anymore because there was nowhere to park, and I'd get all cranky and everything. And Austin's hard parking, but now, like, so I got to see all these musicians I've been wanting to see forever during COVID that I didn't see before. So I think that's fantastic that you've reached a whole new group of people.
Well, it's been very interesting. The San Francisco Chronicle podcast is going to do a thing that on me that drops tomorrow morning, and I'm interested in seeing how that's presented, because it really is a different way of being. And I'm very, very fortunate. I've been in the radio business for 35 years, and so I had long experience in talking to invisible audiences, which I think gave me a leg up over some performers who really kind of needed that, they needed bodies to sing to or whatever. So I felt like I had a little bit of an advantage in that respect.
And perfectible.net is where you
Oh yeah, I
have
was supposed to talk
merchandise.
about that, wasn't I?
Yeah. Well, I just wanted to. I want you to
Okay.
plug.
No, I started to explain that. That's why that sign is up there, because every day I play for tips. I play my show for no money, and people just send what they want to, and they can send it to me on Venmo, and they can send it to me on PayPal. And right now I'm my online store, which I created during the COVID era because it finally got me off my ass to do it. My online store, I'm offering 20% off of everything in what I'm thinly disguised as a cash flow sale for the month of July.
Nice.
Use the
And the
code
Venmo is
July21.
the Venmo. I'm not sure if our names show up, if the thing shows up underneath when we air this. Some
think
of
it
them do and
does,
some of
yeah.
them don't. But if not, there we go. Maybe you could show
I
them.
just realized I had my Venmo up there from, I do a live streaming concert once a month through this group called Quarren Palooza. So
Oh,
I
cool.
didn't realize until you mentioned it that I have my Venmo address in my Zoom preferences from that.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea. I'm just
Yeah.
not sure if people can see it on YouTube. Sometimes they can't, sometimes they can. Do you want to go ahead and give it to them in audio in
Oh,
case they
sure.
can't see it?
My online store is called perfectible.net, and that's spelled PERFECTIBLE, but I also lined up the domain name of a misspelled version of that, so spell it wrong and you still get there. But
And you can get to
perfectible.net, I
you
have
can get to
books.
the Venmo from there.
Oh, no, the Venmo is David-Gans-9.
Okay, cool. And you take whatever you got, whatever emoji you got, huh?
I've been very fortunate in this whole thing. I make my living from a collection of creative enterprises, all of which became less lucrative over the course of my career. Writing, radio, recording, and photography. Everything that I've done to raise money, to earn my living when I was younger, I'm still doing, but either at the same rate as before or at a lower rate than before. But it's all, I've somehow managed to cobble together a living out of doing music-related stuff. And I can't do anything but be thankful for how good I got it here. And I need to make some money from the daily streams, but it's not, it's like helping make up for the lost revenue from merch tables on tour and stuff like that. But I'm close enough to breaking even that I'm not sweating from day to day. So I just get to enjoy this thing of having a really, really lovely audience to interact with every day, making a few bucks and selling a few books along the way, and it's sufficient, and that's all I need, and I'm not willing to be any more aggressive in pursuit of more.
Excellent.
That's fantastic. I guess you should also explain the t-shirt you're wearing.
This T-shirt is how John and I know each other, for one thing.
Yeah.
What does it
Well.com
say?
is an online community.
Oh, the well.
Yeah.
Well.com. It's an online community that I've been a member of since December of 1985. It has existed since April Fool's Day of 1985, and it has been the home of a tremendous number of really, really interesting communities and conversations over those years. I joined with two other deadheads with the idea of sort of testing an online community for Grateful Dead fans. My friend Mary Eisenhart was the editor of Micro Times, a sort of computer magazine using the same kind of free weekly model that the music magazines used. And she was paying attention to all that stuff, and this was back in '85 when CompuServe was the online community you could get to, right? So she knew about this thing called The Well that was starting up in '85, and they were giving free accounts to people with interesting ideas for community. And so we had been discussing the idea that Deadheads certainly had a compelling subject of conversation and that they might be interested in meeting in what wasn't yet known as cyberspace. So Mary Eisenhart suggested that we try it out on the Well with these free accounts before going off and investing in our own hardware and creating our own online system. The third person was Bennett Falk, by the way, who was a columnist at Micro Times and another big Deadhead. This was all people that were Dead fans and socialized together around concerts. So Mary and Bennett had the idea, and I was just about to publish a book on the subject. So the three of us got this idea to start a Grateful Dead group and see how it went. So we went to the Well, took them up on their free account offer, and started the Grateful Dead conference, and it just took off. Because it turned out there were a lot of Deadheads already using computers in the telecom world and in the military world and in the academic world. And when I got on Usenet, there was already a news group for Deadheads because they were one of the early adopters of net news as well. And
Wow.
early users of the ARPANET, when it was still the ARPANET and before it became the internet, there were always Deadheads, and there was always sort of Dead-related traffic in whatever social exchanges were allowed in those days, right? So we started this thing and people flocked to it. Not only people that had computers, but people went out and bought computers so they could join this online community. And people spent a couple $100 a month sometimes in phone charges to be part of it. And it was an hourly rate back then. John, when did you join?
I joined, I think I joined for a time in '88 or so and it didn't last because of the charges.
Yeah.
And then came back in 1990. My official, I mean, if you look today, it'll show that I've been on since February of 1990.
But you were part of the sort of the zine world, right?
I was part of the zine world and the sort of internet. Well, actually, I became an internet technology person through the Well. I was a huge fan of the Whole Earth catalog and all of its publications, and I joined the Well to get close to those guys, and it worked. I did get close to them, and I did write for them and do some editing and that sort of thing. But then I started meeting all these other people, including, the publisher of Fact Sheet 5, which I had found out about from Bruce Sterling, and the publisher of Boing Boing. And I started writing for all these people. I became book review editor for Fact Sheet 5 and associate editor at Boing Boing, and I started writing for Mondo 2000. All of these things that I started doing, I was doing through the Well, through the connections I made there. But my first connection on the Well, the first person I ever talked to on the Well was you.
Is that true?
Yeah, I mentioned that the other day. It was when I was moaning about being unable to get a copy of the Auto Salvage album because it was out of print. And you sent me a tape with Auto Salvage on one side and your band Crazy Fingers on the other side. I think I still have that tape somewhere, though I don't have a way to play it.
Yeah, But the well was full of communities and interest groups along those lines. Mondo 2000 had a presence there. There was a thing called the Artcom Electronic Network that was a bunch of people using digital media to do art stuff. That's where I met and became a participant in the Bad Info. Judy, the Bad Info database.
Malloy, wasn't it?
Well, Judy Malloy, yes. Thank
Yeah,
you.
Judy Malloy.
Yeah, I mean, there's so much creativity going on in the well, and people like me who joined for one thing wound up becoming parts of so many other communities. I was one of the founders of like the TV conference, you know, I might have been one of the founders of the media conference. As the well started kind of as a home for, as a conferencing system in support of the whole Earth software catalog. So there was all that business going on, but gradually more people above and beyond the whole Earthians joined, like us, when they started opening up to other communities. So there was just all these creative people digging the way they could communicate with each other. And we started, Howard Rheingold or John Coate, I forget which, coined the phrase writing as a performing art. And we all started entertaining the fuck out of each other in there and networking and doing creative work and stuff. There was a conference called Mind that was just so much fun, and I mean, it was full of interesting tech, tech and academic stuff, but also just plain fun. There was a woman that showed up called Bald Head My Ass, and she started a topic called Laundromania, and I cannot convey to you in any way why it was something that I would stand at my desk in San Francisco in late 1986 laughing my ass off for a half an hour at a time. But that kind of thing happened.
Yeah, and you would run into people there that it would be kind of unexpected. I mean, like I was reading this guy named William Calvin, who is a neurophysiologist. I think he was working at Woods Hole at the time. And he had written several books, and I was reading, I can't remember which book I was reading at the time. And then I discovered him on the well and started talking to him. You know, we had a lot of experiences
in one of his books because of the well.
Wow.
I quoted John Barlow saying, you know, when you remember a story, you don't remember the story, you remember the last time you told the story. Well, Bill Callen grabbed that quote going by. And so I'm credited in one of his books as the source of a Barlow quote. Weird little form of footnote fame.
So in case you people out there who are watching this don't realize it, David and I are kind of plugging the well. And if you're interested in good conversation online and you're sick of social media, go to well.com and or you can contact us and we can get you a comp account for a couple of months.
Based thing. It's not a lot of posting of GIFs and stuff. It's actually people comparing ideas and exchanging conversation in pure text. I mean, you can put a link to an image in and it'll display it online and stuff, but it's not about that. It's about talking to one another. And another one, before we move on to other topics, I hope, one of the great things about it is that it brings you into contact with experts from a lot of different fields. It's organized around subject matter rather than around personalities. So on a given topic, we'll have people with military experience. We've got chemists, like retired organic chemists. And we've got futurists, and we've got historians, and we've got journalists, and we've got veterinarians and ER doctors. And so, like in the COVID thing, there's a huge amount of expertise and just enough crankery to keep it interesting.
Yeah, there's a whole conference that brings all the COVID topics together. I mean, we could probably explain the structure, but that's not what we're here for. Actually, we're partly here to hear David play and sing.
All right. I guess I better think of a song. Well, since I'm talking,
you could play Inagata Davida if you could pound out the drum solo.
No, I think I'll do a Texas song.
Good man.
Living on the road, my friend, was gonna keep you free and clean. Now you wear your skin like iron, your breath's as hard as kerosene. Weren't your mama's only boy, but her favorite one, it seems. She began to cry when you said goodbye, and sank into your dreams. Pancho's a bandit, boys. His horse was fast as polished steel. He wore his gun outside his pants for all the honest world to feel. Pancho met his match, you know, in the desert down in Mexico. Nobody heard his dying word. Well, that's the way it goes. All the federales say they could have had him any day. They only let him slip away. Out of kindness, I suppose. Lefty can't sing the blues all night long like he used to. But Dusty Pancho bit down south, ended up in Lefty's mouth. Day they laid poor Pancho low. Lefty split for Ohio, where he got the bread to go. Well, there ain't nobody knows. All the federales say they could have had him any day. They only let him slip away. Out of kindness, I suppose. Poets tell how Pancho felt. Lefty's living in a cheap hotel. Desert's quiet and Cleveland's cold. So the story ends, we're told. Pancho needs your prayers, it's true, but save a few for Lefty too. He only did what he had to do. Now he's growing old. All the federales say they could have had him any day. They only let him slip away. Out of kindness, I suppose. You gray federales say they could have had him any day. They only let him go so long. Out of kindness, I
Yay!
Wow, fantastic.
Well, I
That's
thought I
by,
heard all the great versions of that song, but I stand corrected, David.
Man, that
and
was
that's by Merle
great.
Haggard, isn't it?
No, no, Towns
Willie
Van
Towns
Zandt.
Nelson.
Was
Van
it Towns
Zandt.
Van Zandt?
Yeah.
Mhm.
That's a Willie.
Oh,
I guess
Willie
Merle
recorded it.
performed it or
Everybody
something.
recorded it.
I
And
think,
Yeah.
recorded
yeah,
it,
Willie and
it's
Merle
Towns.
performed together, but Towns wrote it, right?
Yes.
Yeah,
Oh,
Towns Van
okay.
Zandt was kind of an amazing
Okay.
person.
Yeah.
May he rest in peace. Wow. So, David, I want to mention that a lot of people who like your music are in the YouTube chatting it up. And I did let them know that if they have anything they want me to mention or ask, to just post it there and I'll mention it.
David,
I have a question. Oh, go ahead, Scoop.
I have a geeky question for you. I have a lot of musician friends who've tried to do what you just performed on various YouTube and Facebook channels to a lot less quality than you came up with. You have a great sound there. How did you do? You know, what are you doing to make it sound so good? It's better than a lot of those online stuff that I've seen and heard lately.
When I started doing this, I just was playing in a room into an iPad. So I set up my little personal PA system and just pointed the speaker so that the iPad and I were hearing it equally. And then as I got into doing this more, I bought a webcam and then later bought a really nice webcam and got more serious about all of it. I also bought a USB audio interface. So instead of just playing directly into the internet through a soundboard connection, which is what you either do that or you play a single microphone on the wrong end of the room and stuff like that, which makes it sound like you're in the back of a room. What I decided to do instead was play through my personal sound system so I can hear my guitar. This is an electric guitar with pedals and stuff. So
That was my
has-
question, was what kind of guitar is it?
This is a Rick Turner Renaissance RS6. It's an amazing instrument. It's a hybrid. It's both an acoustic, a plugged-in acoustic, and an electric guitar in one. It's ridiculously versatile in the hands of somebody like me because I can play harder and softer to get different sounds out of it. And I use this looping device so I can have 3 or 4 different instruments at the same time.
I want to mention that Rick was part of Auto Salvage, the band that I was ranting and raving about earlier.
Oh,
That's
wow.
correct. Rick Turner.
That
I've been a-
guitar is insane.
Isn't it?
Rick Turner is an
Look
amazing
this up.
guitar
Rick Turner
maker.
guitars. This is a Renaissance RS6, and it has really, I call it a hybrid guitar because it functions. I can get on stage with an electric band and play it hard, and it'll sound like a nice electric guitar. But I can
my
sit
God,
and strum it
that's so
lightly, and it's like an acoustic. And since
Well,
I'm
it
so much
sounded
older,
beautiful. I mean, that had a great sound.
It is a beautiful.
Oh, wow.
Beautiful.
Thank you for
So-
letting me know about that.
To-
I
to
did not
finish
know.
Explaining to Scoop what that you're looking at the RS6 guitars. Model 1, I have one of those as well. That's the electric. Renaissance, that's the one, Renaissance. Anyway, I play through my little PA, Scoop, and I have a pair of condenser mics pointed at the PA, and those go into the audio interface and out to the net. So instead of a dry feed from my soundboard, I'm playing in the room with the real sound that I want from my guitar and vocal and miking that sound into the internet feed. So it sounds more like a real guy playing in a real room.
That's why I had to ask, because a lot of the stuff that has made it online, like you said, it sounds dry, and a lot of it's way too processed. And you definitely have that live, club sound, a nice club, and so that's good to know. I'll pass that along to my friends who have been killing me with their bad sound.
It definitely playing through a PA so you can control the sound and sound the way you want to sound is a better starting place than plugging in directly in and not having any speakers in the circuit at all. It makes it much less colorful, I guess. So this is what works for me.
It sounds very warm. I'm as around my studio here, I'm surrounded by dead technology. I'm a fan of analog. I have a reel to reel over there, a cassette machine here in the rack, and all sorts of vinyl around me. So I just like these things because they sound warm and not overly processed.
Yeah.
And that's what I got from listening to your mix
Well,
there.
it also, it just helps that this guitar is such an amazing instrument. I know some of it has to do with who's playing it, but the instrument itself is just so beautiful and has such a rich sound. And so it just helps to have really, really good tools to begin with.
Is it hollow?
It is hollow. It's lightweight. It's not like an electric guitar, but it's a sealed chamber. So it functions similarly to an acoustic guitar,
Yeah.
but with a sealed chamber so that it doesn't feed back. A regular guitar has a much bigger cavity and a sound hole,
Right.
that you can't play them very loud or they'll feed back. So this is a system that's designed to be a stage guitar that sounds like a nice acoustic guitar. And then once
Man,
they
that's
had
cool.
that in hand, the first one of these that I bought only had this quasi-acoustic thing, the piezo pickup. But I was on the road with it, and I was doing all this looping stuff, and I wanted to be able to play my pedals and all through it. So I ran into Rick one night, actually at a Van Morrison show in San Francisco, coincidentally. And I said, hey, is there any way you can put a magnetic pickup on this guitar he said, we're working on it. Give me a couple of months.
Oh,
And he called me a few months later and said, bring it in. And they had designed this pickup, an electric pickup, because this guitar is fundamentally an acoustic guitar. These are acoustic guitar strings, phosphor bronze strings with 2 bare strings and 4 wound strings. So you can't just put a regular Fender pickup under it because it won't work. So they had to design a special pickup that worked with these kind of strings to deliver an electric guitar kind of sound. And to me, when I play this through a really high-end stage tube amp like a Mesa Boogie, it sounds like a Stratocaster to me.
wow.
And then, as I said, when I'm playing it, and you can also, there's a blend pot, so you can just have just the acoustic pickup or just the electric pickup, but I never use the extremes. I always leave the mix in the middle, because if you play with dynamics, you get all the range you need just from how hard you hit the strings. If I'm hitting it lightly, it's kind of an acoustic guitar, right? I've just seen a face, I can't forget the time or place where we just met. Okay, but if I want to get into it and like play.
Wow.
So it sounds
Okay.
like electric. And I can
Yeah.
stack those things up. I can create that bass layer, the strumming, the regular acoustic rhythm of Poncho and Lefty. But when the chorus came, I hit my looper pedal and recorded the chord changes of the chorus. Then when the chorus came around the second time, I played it back from the pedal and sang along with it. And then I played a guitar solo over the recording of the chord changes. And that's how looping works. And that's why it's possible for a solo performer to play more than one guitar sound at a time. And that's
Oh,
why
that's so
this
cool.
guitar in particular is such a glorious tool for that, because its expressive range is, it suits the range of possibilities that I have,
That is really cool. And the shape of it is a little is that purposeful, or is that just aesthetics?
Probably both. I mean, there are certain things that have to exist in a guitar body. It has to have certain shape and certain kinds of things, but I can't tell you what those criteria are or what those features are. I
Right.
leave that to the experts. But Rick, all of Rick's guitars, we were looking at the page, the Model 1 is a beautiful guitar too. All of his guitars are beautiful artworks as well. I mean, he just has designed beautiful bodies, always uses ridiculously lovely woods with these things.
Wow.
Rick Turner is a guy who knows, as John was mentioning earlier, he came up in a band called Auto Salvage, in the psychedelic 60s. And he was also, before that, he was like the lead guitar player for Ian and Sylvia, and he toured with their band for several years. So he had a background in like the Cambridge folk scene, and he was a guitar player and a musician in that world, came west and started making instruments and became part of a team called Alembic in San Francisco that was funded by Owsley Stanley, the acid chemist, wound up making instruments and designing amplification systems and stuff for all the San Francisco bands, etc. And along the way, I don't mind saying, pretty much invented modern concert sound.
Yeah,
That's very cool.
his modern concert sound. He was involved with the Wall of Sound for the Dead, and
Owsley was, that was his
yeah,
concept. Rick,
and
Rick
that
had left that company. He left Alembic earlier than that, but I think he was still involved with the research team. So there were a lot of amazing people in the Wall of Sound project. I interviewed John Curl recently, who was one of the designers, one of the head techno geeks on the Wall of Sound project. It was really fun to learn from him.
Yeah, that system actually benefited a lot of Bay Area bands. I was managing Bay Area bands and doing production with bands. And then a number of them had pieces of that system, you know, the horns and the bass bends and some of the amps and stuff, because there was so much. And, you know, the Dead could only support that for a while, and it was just ended up in a warehouse. But, you know, various people started, you know, parceling out, and it was a great sound system. You know, one of my bands had it, and we toured around California with it, and it was sweet. It was just the old
speakers, that speaker system. It was huge. It literally stood 40 feet tall and 50 feet wide, but it delivered the cleanest, most articulate sound into large spaces that I've ever heard. And I saw it a lot in stadiums and in places like the Cow Palace and Winterland.
Yeah, the individual pieces were warm and, you know, really it had a lot of body to the sound. It wasn't that whiny, you know, peavy sound, I guess.
Digital. Well, we're somehow managing to make good sound in the digital age, and you know, I record to digital now because who can afford 2-inch tape?
Well, you make some good sound. Do you want to make some more for us?
I'm sorry, it makes it, I was just going to say, that makes it accessible to people who couldn't afford it, though. You know, this new, like, even pictures, a photographer, art is becoming more accessible, I think, to people because of that. So I think it's very cool. And you can learn, you can get online, and there's a million videos on how to do what you want to do.
That's very true. I sort of gave up trying to shepherd my stuff. I mean, you just can't stop it. My photos have been grabbed and repurposed, and they show up all the time, especially in the Grateful Dead world. But I take that as a compliment. It means that my photos have resonance with people and they want to keep using them. I have this attitude of treating a lot of this shit like the weather, like Spotify. I cannot control what happens with Spotify. I mean, I know there's ways I can indirectly affect my presence there, etc. But the money that it comes from it is negligible, and I treat it like the weather. It's just there. If it helps, that's fine. If it hurts, I can't do anything about it, and what the hey. And I feel that way about so many of these things, like trying to control your stuff in this age is just a recipe for frustration. So instead, I'm not uptight about it. Happy to share stuff. I've put up transcripts and audio of interviews from throughout my radio career for free with a tip jar, which nobody ever puts any money in, but what the fuck? You know,
right? Who cares? It can't hurt.
I'm making enough to get by, and having all these resources, and every once in a while a subject comes up on Twitter and I can say, oh, I interviewed that guy. Here's the interview, read this.
Yeah, that's cool.
That kind of thing that's much more fun and more important than holding stuff out and trying to get paid for everything.
For sure.
So another song.
Yes, please. Thank you for taking that question.
There are people on YouTube.
Before I play this song, I want to tell you something about this song. I have there's a movie on Netflix called Crip Camp that I recommend to everybody. It was Oscar nominated this year, but it lost to The Octopus. But it's an amazing movie about the birth of the disabled rights movement in America that started in the early 70s. And my friend Jim Lebrecht is the co-director of the film and in it, because it began with footage of him at a camp for disabled kids in the early 70s. And the reason I mention it is that Jim and I have had a creative partnership since 2003. Just working, he's an amazing digital audio artist. I first heard of him when he was the sound designer for the Berkeley Repertory Theater, and then he went on to doing film sound work. We became friends when I did some work in the Fantasy Building where his studio was. And we just started this creative partnership, and then whenever we've been able to find a little time together, we've made music. And Jim has produced 7 or 8 tracks that have scattered about my records in recent years, and this is one of those tracks, and this is one of the ones, a lot of it is stuff that I recorded elsewhere, like loop jams that I recorded elsewhere that Jim then fed into his amazing tools, intellect, and fantasy and turned into other kinds of music. This is a song that we built from scratch. This was actually recorded, and produced by Jim Lebrecht from scratch, and it's on an album called You Are Here. Looking for a melody to sing a simple song. I'm just a little lonely now, but there's nothing really wrong. I find my inspiration where it's been all along. Blue roses, Willamette River sunset and a California dawn. Blue roses, the rose is sweeter when the blues are gone. Walk along the riverside where a rose grows in the sand. Should have been home yesterday, but I changed more than I planned. The sweet bouquet of springtime that jumped into my hand. Blue roses, Willamette River sunset and a California dawn. Blue roses, the rose is sweeter when the blues are gone.
Yay! That was nice.
Do it again.
Excellent. Wow. That's a beautiful song.
Thank you.
Where how long ago did you write that?
Oh, 70s. It's more than close to 40 years old, I guess. Jesus, I've lost count. 50 years old. Jesus Christ. Most of it came from driving home from Portland, Oregon in May of 1974. There was this figure that existed and had a different lyric idea stuck to it for a while, but somehow driving, I went to Oregon with a bunch of friends to see the Grateful Dead in May of 1974 and had a really, really good time. And they went on to Seattle, but I had to turn around and drive home by myself. And so that song was kind of about my trip home, sort of. Because I had to miss some Dead shows that my friends got to go to. I had to come home and go to a dentist appointment.
Oh man.
Oh no.
That's an amazing, I love the backstory. That's hilarious. I mean, really, that's great. That's a great backstory. The inspiration. So have you had any COVID inspired songs come up?
I have not been writing much lately. I started playing these daily shows and found myself revisiting 50 years of songs that I performed and composed, and haven't really felt strongly inspired to write anything. I have a couple of ideas that are just sort of cooking along, but they aren't at all related to the COVID thing. I'm a very slow writer historically, and I've been writing for a long time, so I have a lot of songs, but I've never felt any kind of urgency to crank stuff out or to create. I've never had like, oh, I've got to write an album now. No, nothing like that. I've always had the great gift of being able to write whenever I had something to say. And for some reason, what I'm doing now involves playing every day, keeping track of what I've played, being given requests for songs I've never played before, stuff like old Beatles songs and stuff, which has been a really, really fun challenge, like figuring out how to open Beatles songs up. They're all perfect little gems of musical structure and stuff. To find places to tease them open so you can jam on them is a really fun challenge. And playing all these Grateful Dead songs, which you never do the same way twice, and which you string together with improvisations and stuff. I just haven't felt a strong impulse to write anything new because I'm having a really, really good time revisiting the entire history of my life as a songwriter.
Fantastic. That's great.
You know, we have some
because there's all these damn Cat Stevens songs that are stuck. I can play Father and Son in my sleep because I play.
Man, that to me is probably, well, I don't know if it's my favorite song, but it's definitely one of my favorite songs to sing.
My wife is learning the ukulele and she plays it downstairs.
Oh wow.
It's really fun. She got interested in the ook a couple of years ago, and she now owns 2 ooks and plays every day. It's so exciting for me that she's becoming a musician. And Father and Son is one of her songs that I hear her working on.
Oh, I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it.
You hear her doing moon dance and stuff like that on the ook.
Oh, man.
Hey, David, do you want to play Life as a Jam?
Sure.
Because there's a request for it. There's several requests here, but that was one of them that got repeated.
Yes, and life and song have endless variation, so we embrace the possibilities. The groove is what we all create together with sympathetic synchronicity. Yes, what we seek is not just entertainment. What we make is not just rock and roll. Yeah, we're teaming up for spiritual entrainment to fortify the body and the soul. Life is a jam, we live to jam. Our music is a soul collaboration. We sing and dance at every chance. It's a righteous conflagration of concerted inspiration. Our collective intuition brings our wishes to fruition. Jamming is a leap into the future. Uncertainty is not a thing to fear. Yeah, so when the music's playing us, no one has to steer the bus. We're Magellan, Captain Cook, and Marco Polo. What's next is not a jam, it's just a solo. Yes, and we don't know where we're going till we get there. And we don't know how it ends until it ends. We do our greatest work when we're not thinking. And no one can remember what played when. Yes, so what we seek is not just entertainment. What we make is not just rock and roll. Yeah, we're teaming up for spiritual entrainment to fortify the body and the soul. Life is a jam, we jam to live. Our music is a soul collaboration. We sing and dance at every chance. It's a righteous conflagration of concerted inspiration. Our collective intuition brings our wishes to fruition. Jamming is a leap into the future. Uncertainty is not a thing to fear. Yeah, so when the music's playing us, no one has to steer the bus. Now, depending on my mood and random factors, I'll groove or jam or segue or just end.
Fantastic. I am really digging the chat over on YouTube.
Yeah, I'm watching it
true,
as
people.
well. You have a lot of fans out there.
Yeah.
That
That's
group of people
great.
has organized itself around these daily streams, and it's been a wonderful experience to interact with them every day. There's one or two of them that send me requests almost every day, which is really helping to keep me challenged and refreshed, you know. And they're
What a
just
wonderful thing. What a
That's
wonderful
fantastic.
thing. Yeah.
Yeah, we
I've
have
never
like,
been quoted in the newspaper saying this. I've never felt as heard and appreciated as I am right now. These people quote my song lyrics and stuff. It's like, you know, a couple
That's
100,000
wonderful.
of them, and I can make a living at this.
Let's get that going.
We
absolutely.
should remind
There they
people
are.
that David is featured on our podcast this week as well. This is a David Gans twofer week. So if they go to plutopia.io, they will hear an hour more of David. It's not a musical hour, but he tells you a lot of good stuff.
Yeah.
But it's a
yeah, really
magical
great.
hour.
For having me.
And David, we really hope you'll come back. Obviously, we couldn't cover all the ground that we could potentially cover in one sitting.
Yeah, I need to know more about what you guys are after. What's your
Well-
mission? What is Plutopia?
Pluralist utopias. The idea was that everybody should be able to sort of create their own reality,
We certainly do
their
that.
own utopian reality. And somebody tossed out this term pluralist utopias, and we made the portmanteau Plutopia for that. And that's where it came from.
It's suggestive enough of other things that it makes you think a little while before about what it might be before you settle on that, because you know, Pluton, plutocrat, plutocracy. So you know, you might be, are these guys like economic gorillas or what?
Pluto
What's going on
pup.
here? But I like
We're
the
from
idea of
Pluto.
pluralist
We're from
utopia.
Pluto.
Yeah.
People think we're, which I mean, are we a planet?
Well, we're working on being a cult, but a very
Yeah,
a
we're probably going to be a
user-friendly
cult.
cult, not one of those evil ones.
It
The
sounds like what
well,
have
you
in
can't
common
tell
is
where
a
it's gonna
desire
go,
to-
Scoop.
We just want to provide an alternative to the online media environment where people are tearing each other down. Let's build each other up. So, David, we have enough time maybe for one more song. We got like 4 minutes.
Yep,
Right.
leave them with a song.
I'm going to do the most recent song that I wrote. It's been several years now, but well, I wrote one with another guy, but I'm not going to do that one right now. I want to do this one for you guys instead. This is about that guy at the end of the bar. You know him.
Yeah.
He spends his whole workday unmanned and unnerved. Goes out every night for the fun he deserves. 9 times out of 10, he is way overserved. And then he begins to declaim of conspiracies, fake news, and blame. And I say, I don't want to be in your movie today. It's a role I'm not prepared to play. I don't want to be in your movie today. Coyote, there is just no comprehending these metaphors you're trying to put in play. And when I start to feel my patience ending, that's when I know it's time to step away. And I don't want to be in your movie today. It's a role I'm not prepared to play. I don't want to be in your movie today. You run with these preposterous presumptions, demanding I believe it 'cause you say. But I'd prefer to trust my higher functions and focus on reality today. And I don't want to be in your movie today. It's a role I'm not prepared to play. I don't want to be in your movie today. Your natterings evince no introspection. I find that there's no reason in your rhyme. And standing here deflecting your projections is not the way I choose to spend my time. And I don't want to be in your movie today. It's a role I'm not prepared to play. I don't want to be in your movie today. I don't want to be in your movie today. I don't want to be in your movie today. I have to quickly note that that track was produced by Jim Lebrecht, who I mentioned earlier, who did the Blue Roses track with me, and it's on a record called Drop the Bone.
Woo!
Thanks so much, David.
Thank you for having me. This was fun.
This has been a blast. We'll do it again.
You know where to find me, John.
I sure do.
Well.com, everybody. Thanks.
All right. And we'll be looking for you all on the well.
Bye.
Nighty night.
Bye.
Off we go.